Welcome everyone. I hope that you are off to a good start. What I want to do here is just give you some insights of how the data types work, how you should put your includes, whether or not to use namespace, and some terms that you're going to come across. So right at the top, you see that I have include and IO stream. So I'm using Visual Studio. So every time I hit the pound sign, that is what's called a processor directive. It's telling that the processor and the compiler, hey, we're doing something. So I'm going to type in include, and notice that I'm getting IntelliSense in here, and as soon as I hit a bracket, I have all these different things. So since we already have IO stream, let's do IO manip. And we'll do one more. We'll do CMAP, which allows you to do mathematical functions. So we're good here. So in a previous video, I talked about the advantages and disadvantages of using namespace. For right now, we're going to just use it in here. And you can see that we have a comment which is multi-line by this quote here with the hash and the star, and then the star, and then the hash over here. And then I have a single line comment, which is just 2 slashes in here. So this is a preprocessor directive, which we've done over here. Then we have the brackets. That's used multiple different ways. So for right now, we're going to use it just for our includes. But if we get into vectors, and we will, you'll see that you're going to do vector, and it's going to be used here to tell the compiler what type of data type. And we'll just call it class or whatever we want to call it. And there's other things that you can use for just a multitude of things. So we'll see that as we go along in here. Now we have our left parentheses or right parentheses or opening and close parentheses. That's going to be for function calls, and you'll be doing if statements, which need to have a parentheses, as well as while statements need to have a parentheses. And also you'll see switch. Our brackets are opening and closing brackets. That's a block of code. So I have here integer main. Notice that the function needs to have the parentheses, and then I have a opening block and a closing block. I like to put a comment for the closing block, so I always know what block belongs to what and what bracket belongs to what bracket in here. And finally, we have single quotes and double quotes. Single quotes here, double quotes. So the double quotes are for text and for characters for single quotes. So now we go into our data type. So we have an integer. Now, again, I am a big fan of initializing everything that I declare, and I always declare all of my variables on top, with the exception of variables declared inside a for loop. When we get to loops, you'll understand what we're talking about here. So an integer is 4 bytes, and it goes from minus 2 billion and change to plus 2 billion and change. And unsigned is going to be something that's always got to be a number that's 0 or above. Now, a lot of people like to say positive number, but some people do not declare 0 as either positive or negative. So we're just going to leave it as such. And this is any number that's 0 or greater. It cannot be a negative number. And an unsigned integer will go to 4 billion and change. A float is something that can have a decimal point. So you could have the price of something. It could be 75.25, and you can even add several different decimal places in here. Now notice the F after I declared this. And the reason for that is the compiler will take a look at it and say, you may be losing data by conversion, dropping it down from a double to a float. If I put the F here, then the compiler knows that I really meant it to be an F. It's your call whether to use floats or doubles. I normally use doubles because we're not working in tons of data, and it's just easier to use double. but you don't really have to, because obviously if you're talking about the price of something, it's really not going to be that high, but you can use double, you can use float, whatever you want. And then you have Boolean. Boolean is something that's either true or false. It cannot be anything else. And that's great for a while loop. And you want to say we want to get something, a number between 1 and 10. Well, we need to make sure that the user inputs a number between 1 and 10. So we can have a Boolean called, say, need data. In that particular case, and we can do a while loop, and we can do while we need the data, or while we don't have the data. Whatever you want. It's great for getting data input. It's also good for menu systems. And then I have an integer, and what I've done is I put the word const in front of it. A common error is to hit const and forget the data type. So then you're going to get a red squiggly line. So you need to put the data types. Now notice the difference between a have data. This is camel case, which means the first word is all lowercase, and then every other word is capitalized. And there cannot be any numbers in the beginning, but you can have a underscore if you like. But with camel case, you're not going to have any underscores inside of the word itself, the way you have like with number of students. Now, when you have all uppercase, and your constant is going to be all uppercase, what you need to make sure is that you separate the words with an underscore to make it look reasonable. You cannot use anything other than an underscore. And then this caps it at 25, period. So you cannot do anything. So that is it for this video. In the next one, I'm actually going to go into chapter 2 of Zybooks. And we'll start, and I'll try to give you some hints on what you need to do. And then we'll cap off with the programming exercises at the end, which you actually will submit. So I'm going to give you some hints on how to do it and what is the best way for you to submit it. So that is it for this video. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you're listening to this in the middle of the night, hope you have a wonderful night.